Hi, welcome to Yoga Selection. My name is Rod. Our focus today, the standing pose, Parsvakonasana. We'll be using a chair, 2 blocks, a belt and a blanket. Make sure that you're warmed up and ready to go. We're going to get straight into some standing poses, beginning with the related pose, Virabhadrasana 2, the second warrior pose. We'll start with the left heel to the wall. Step your right foot out, check that you've got your full leg length distance between the feet. We'll begin with hands on hips and just isolating some of the key actions that we'll then take to Parsvakonasana as we bend, first of all, the right knee, and then ensure that the hip is continuing that bend. So top of the thigh parallel to the floor. The right heel, it presses down, and the right outer thigh, it draws back towards the wall. As it does so, the hip moves in, and then with the back leg, the left outer heel presses down, the front of the left thigh resists back, the left outer hip, it moves in, still with the hands on the hips, focus on the left shoulder and bring it back directly over the hip. Still with the hands on the hips, lift the chest up, and then extend the arms out. Make sure that you can reach the wall with the left hand and look back at the left hand and just walk the hand a little further back towards the right side edge of the mat, and then turn the gaze to look over the right hand. Chest lifting up and then release and come up, and we'll change sides. And now bending the left leg. The left thigh bone, release down where the thigh bone joins the pelvis, release down. Pressing the left heel, draw the left outer thigh back towards the wall. Notice how it contains that left hip, it moves it in. Whilst doing that, right heel press down, right thigh press back, and the right outer hip move into the body. And then the right shoulder, bring it back and over the right hip. Just as you do that though, make sure that the left knee remains stable. Left heel press down as the right shoulder moves back. Chest lift up, and then extend the arms. Look back at the right hand. Now ideally the thumb remains in contact with the wall, and then just walk the hand a little further back towards the left side edge of the mat, so that right shoulder stays back as you turn the gaze to look over the left hand. And then release and come up. Let's start with a block nearby. We'll develop some of those actions in the direction of Parsvakonasana now. We'll start with the block beside the inner heel. So left heel to the wall. Right foot is the front foot, the block beside the right inner heel. And then, as we just did, we bend the knee and of course the hip. We sink the thigh bone down, the top of the thigh parallel to the floor. And then we'll start off by bringing the hand down onto the block and just assess the use of the block there, what it's really good for, helping that hip to stay in. We want to keep that. Helping the top shoulder to come back, we want to keep that. What it's not as good for, and what we're going to focus on a lot today, is closing the gap between the waist and the thigh. So in order to close that gap, we'll dispense with the block, put it out to the side, and bring the hand down to the floor. In doing that, see if you can make a literal contact with the right waist onto the right thigh. Now potentially it's come at the expense of the top shoulder leaning forwards, and we'll look to get to that in a moment. Check first of all though that right hip has stayed into the body. So right outer thigh, draw back towards the wall behind, it moves the hip in. The left heel presses down, the left thigh, it resists back. Now we'll get to that shoulder, but first the chest. Make use of the right arm. Press it down to the floor, move the right shoulder blade in, and turn the right chest up towards the ceiling. So connecting the right arm to the right chest, but now the left heel to the left shoulder. Left heel press down and left shoulder bring back as we turn the head to look up. And then we'll extend the top arm initially straight up, vertically up towards the ceiling. And then bring the hand back to the hip and come up, and we'll change sides. So use the block if you're unable to get the top shoulder come back, but preferably today without the block or reduced height so that we can emphasize that proximity of the waist to the thigh. As we now bend the left leg and bring the left hand down. At this stage it's coming to the inner foot and the left thigh bone sinks down. Remember the top of the thigh parallel with the floor, not the back of the thigh. And then the left waist coming down onto the thigh. Use the left waist to help that thigh bone to descend. And then we've got the arm placed against the knee, and we can press the hand to the floor, the arm to the knee, and that gives us leverage to turn the chest. The left chest turns up, and that helps to bring the right shoulder back. But in addition, the right heel can press down and look for the connection there with the shoulder. Right heel press down, right shoulder move back. As the right shoulder moves back, there's freedom for the neck to look up. And then we extend the top arm up. Make sure as the top arm comes up, the shoulder's lifting with the arm. The right collarbone lifting with the arm. The right shoulder blade lifting with the arm. And then bring the hand back to the hip and inhale and come up. And let's come back to the first side. Have your belt and adjust the buckle of the belt so that when the loop of the belt that you've made comes around the wrists, your wrists are shoulder width distance, like so. And then we'll come back to that original Virabhadrasana 2 position. We've got the belt around both wrists and the arms behind the back. Left heel to the wall, right foot as the front foot. Press out into the belt and lift the chest up. As the chest lifts, the spine lifts, of course, but also the sides of the waist. So that area between the lower side ribs and the pelvis. And we'll be focusing on that region throughout the variations that will come. As we then bend the right leg, and we'll come to Parsvakonasana, and we're aiming to bring the right waist and the right chest all the way down in contact with the right thigh. Press out into the belt and use that as leverage to lift the right waist and chest further along the thigh. And then press out into the belt. Resist with the left wrist. Press with the right wrist to get that chest rotation. The right chest turning up. Resist with the right hand. Press with the left hand and move the left shoulder back. Press with both wrists and see if you can access the right waist. It's touching the thigh, and now turn it upwards towards the ceiling as you look up towards the ceiling. And then inhale and come all the way up. And we'll change sides. Right heel back to the wall. Bend the left leg. Bring the left waist and the left chest down onto the thigh. Now potentially we've closed the gap with the waist and the thigh at the expense of the chest turning towards the floor. We'll get to that and correct that in a moment, but first of all, press into the belt and lengthen the left waist further over the thigh. And then resist with the right wrist, press with the left wrist in order to turn the chest. The left chest turn upwards. Building on that, resist with the left wrist, press with the right wrist, and roll the right shoulder back. And then combine, pressing with both wrists to target the left waist. Turn upwards towards the ceiling. The waist is touching the thigh, and the thigh feels the brush of the waist skin as it turns towards the ceiling. And then inhale and come up and step the feet together. Let's then take our blanket and we'll begin with it in its shoulder stand Parsvakonasana fold, and then let's neatly fold it lengthways in half like so. We're going to use the blanket to isolate that area that we're targeting, focusing on, that side waist area between the hip region and the floating ribs. So left heel to the wall, right foot as the front foot, and then we're going to take care to have the neat folded edge into the thigh crease there at the top of the right leg. Now this will assist those of you that were struggling to make that literal physical contact with the waist to the thigh. For those that were already there, it's going to emphasize that sensation. So bending the right leg. Before we take the right hand down with both hands, just maneuver that blanket, bring it right back deep into the thigh crease. And then without the blanket moving away from the pelvis, lay yourself down as we did in the previous pose there, the right waist ideally fully in contact with the blanket. And then we bring the right hand down to the floor, the left hand onto the hip. Now make sure that the right hip is contained. It needs to move into the body. So that first action we looked at in Virabhadrasana 2, the right outer thigh, draw it back towards the wall so that the hip remains in. The left thigh resists back, the left heel press down. And then with the right hand, we can press to the floor. The arm also can resist back against the knee, and it gives us the leverage to turn the chest. And then the left heel presses down, and it brings the left shoulder back. So we've got the chest to turn, the shoulders to turn, but our target area, that waist region, you can feel the sensation there of the blanket on the skin. To get that area to turn, let's move the right hand further out and off the mat. We've moved it directly out to the side, away from the sole of the foot. And then pressing the right hand down, feel how you can make the right waist turn. So it stays in contact with the blanket, but it turns whilst being on the blanket, and we look up towards the ceiling. And then we can emphasize that still further as the right hand presses down, as if dragging the floor back towards the right foot, and we can extract still improved turning in that waist region. And then the top arm can come up. So just bring the top hand back to the hip. Just for the moment, letting the waist stay down on the blanket. Let's bring the right hand back and around to the outside of the right leg. So it's more classical position. It's the hand that has moved, not the waist. And then again, shoulder back. And now extend the top arm up. But the right waist turning as you look up towards the ceiling. And then hand back to the hip and come up, and we'll change. With both hands, bringing the blanket with the neat folded edge of the blanket into the thigh crease. As we then bend the left leg, we start with the left hand coming down beside the inner foot and the right hand to the hip. The left hip contained in, the right thigh press back, making use first of all with the left arm. So we've got dual action there. We can press the hand to the floor, but also the arm presses back against the knee. The knee resists as we press against it, and we can turn the chest. The left chest, it turns up. To bring the right shoulder back, press the right heel down, and look for the connection. Right heel press down, right shoulder press back. And now to target the left waist, we walk the left hand away from the left inner foot. Now I'm bringing the hand just off the mat. My foot's in the center of the mat. My left hand has come just off to the side. Pressing the left hand down, turn the chest, but importantly, the left waist. Pressing the left hand down and as if dragging the floor back towards the front foot, turn the waist further. And then make sure that the weight of the torso is helping that left waist stay fixed in that position as we walk the left hand back and around beside the outer foot. Resist with the hand, press with the knee back into the arm. We turn the left chest, the right shoulder, the left waist, and then extend the top arm up and looking up towards the top thigh. And then bring the hand back to the hip and come all the way up. Blanket off to the side. Taller people, you may potentially need to retain the blanket, and we'll revert the blanket back to its Parsvakonasana position and then fold it in the more broad half fold and place the blanket onto the chair. So that might be what taller people need to do. For shorter people, potentially in this pose you'll struggle to get the right heel to the floor. If that's the case, you put a block under the right foot. So it's important that the right heel can stay to the floor, but with the right hip at the same height as the knee. Probably for the average height person, you won't need to do either. The block for the foot nor the blanket for the seat of the chair. I'm going to work without either. We've got the chair positioned towards the end of the mat. We've allowed enough room here for the right foot to fit. So we don't want to be off the mat with the right foot. And then we'll step the left leg back and through the frame of the chair. And we walk the left foot back and place the back of the right thigh down onto the seat of the chair. Make sure the left foot is walked out far enough sufficiently so that you can fully straighten the left leg. At this point we're more or less in our Virabhadrasana 2 position, and we're heading in the direction of Parsvakonasana. So let's go there now. We'll bring the right hand down to the floor beside the inner heel. We've got the arm placed against the knee. It helps that knee to stay over the ankle. I'll just check it again for taller ones. You may need a blanket on the seat of the chair to avoid the right hip sinking lower than the right knee. It should be level to the right knee. For shorter people, you've got a support under the heel so that you can keep your heel in contact, either with the floor or the block if you need. The right outer thigh, it's drawing back towards the wall. As you do so, the left heel presses down and the left thigh back. We've made contact with the right waist onto the thigh. Notice how the chair helps the thigh bone to sink down, and then work with that and incorporate into that the right waist, also releasing down and onto the thigh. Potentially though at the expense of the chest tipping towards the floor. And we've got the right hand there and the right arm to help to turn the right chest up. The top hand there onto the top of the chair, it can help the shoulder to move back. And remember our target area there is the waist. First of all, with the left hand, press against the frame of the chair and use that as leverage to lift and lengthen the right waist further over the right thigh. So we've lengthened it, but now we want it to turn. To do it, let's walk the left hand further around the chair, so more towards the right side edge of the mat. And then firm grip with the hand on the top of the chair, and as if pulling the chair back across to the left side Use that as leverage to turn, not just the chest, not just the shoulder, but the right waist up towards the ceiling as we're looking up towards the ceiling. Okay, and then release, and we'll change to the left side. Bring the right leg back through the frame of the chair. A moment to establish the basic shape of the pose. We're aiming to keep the left thigh bone parallel with the yoga mat. The left knee over the left ankle, and then when we bring the left hand down to the floor, we can wedge the arm up against the knee, lean back on the knee, again, so that the knee remains over the ankle, the left thigh bone parallel with the side edges of the yoga mat. We want to avoid a diagonal thigh bone there. That keeps the left hip in. Close the gap between the left waist and the thigh, and then turn the chest. Left chest turned up towards the ceiling. With the right hand gripping the top of the chair, we can roll the right shoulder back. Our target area, the left waist, we'll look to turn it shortly. We've already made it descend. It's got contact with the thigh, but let's now press against the frame of the chair with the heel of the right hand so that the left waist lengthens further out and over the thigh. And then to get the waist to not just lengthen but turn, the right hand, it walks further back onto the top of the chair. So it comes right over towards that left side of the chair, firm grip, and then almost like a steering wheel action, as if turning the steering wheel back towards the right side of the mat. Use that as leverage to get the turning action coming to the left waist. The left waist, turn up towards the ceiling, look up towards the ceiling. Keep pressing the right heel down, and then release. And come up. And we'll start now to increasingly look at the role of the top arm in the pose. Put the chair off to the side. We'll use blocks now. Make sure you've got your mat right up against the wall. We'll have one block for the front foot. It will be roughly a 45-degree angle wedged to the wall. Make sure that the block is stable. If you've got a skirting board there or a particularly glossy paint on the wall, you may need to put a rolled blanket underneath the diagonal block to make sure that it stays in position when your full body weight is pressing down onto it. We'll also use a block for the hand, and that will be a tall block. So when we're facing the wall, the tall block will be to the right side of the diagonal block. The diagonal block will be for the right foot. For balance, we can bring the right hand to the wall as we step the right foot up onto the block. Make sure that the block is secure at this point. You can test it. What we don't want is for that block to slip whilst we're fully in the pose. If you need to, put a rolled blanket underneath it to secure it. This version of Parsvakonasana potentially will need increased distance, more than the classical distance of roughly a leg's length, a little over a leg's length. The gauge for that, if in a moment when we bend the right knee, if your head becomes touching to the wall or too close to the wall, then you just need to step the left foot back. For some people, the distance needs to be increased a little from the regular classical version of the pose, so as to avoid the head making contact with the wall. So let's then come to the pose. We start by bending the right knee, and importantly in Parsvakonasana, in order to get the thigh bone to sink fully down, we need to not just bend the knee, but of course the hip, and that's the real key action. So letting the right hip socket sink towards the floor, and the ankle in this particular version of the pose also needs to work. So the right outer heel presses down into the slanted block as we then bring the right hand down onto the block. Just balance initially without the assistance of the wall. Again, just if your head is touching the wall, it just means that your left foot needs to step further back away from the wall. Starting with the left hand onto the hip, make sure that the right knee is pressing back into the right arm. The right outer thigh, it draws back away from the wall, the right hip moves in, the left thigh presses back, the left heel presses down to the wall. As we've been doing, we can use the back leg to get the shoulder to turn. Left heel press down and the left shoulder back. And then we'll bring the left hand to the wall, the elbow is bent and the fingertips are to the wall. The elbow points directly up towards the ceiling and the hand has come to the wall directly above the right toes. And pressing the right hand down, we can turn the chest up towards the ceiling. And then pressing the right hand, but also the left hand, we can get that rotation coming more deeply into the waist. And then to go still further, we can walk the left hand like a spider with the fingertips, walk it back towards the space behind you, keep the elbow pointing up. Still with the right knee pressing back into the arm, turn not just the chest, but also the right waist towards the ceiling. Lift the left elbow up as you look up towards the ceiling. The left elbow pointing directly up as the elbow lifts. It also lifts that left shoulder up and off the neck, and there's more space for the neck then to turn. And then we'll release and we'll change sides. Potentially you'll need to adjust the slanted block if it's come flatter or steeper. Make sure that it's secure. Test that it's secure before progressing with the pose. And then bend the knee, the hip. Bring the hand down onto the block. The right hand onto the hip. Resist down with the hand into the block. It stabilizes the left arm. Make sure it's in contact with the knee, and then it's the job of the knee to press back firmly into the arm. Notice how that keeps that left hip contained into the body. Right thigh, resist back. Right heel, press down. Right heel pressing down, and we can turn the shoulder. Right hand to the wall. Elbow lifting up, press the hand into the wall, and we can turn the left chest. Pressing the left hand down, pressing the right hand into the wall, and now walking the right hand like a spider, creeping it back towards the space behind you and pressing firmly the hand into the wall. And we can then target the left waist. Turn the left waist up towards the ceiling. As you look up, point the right elbow directly up towards the ceiling as the elbow lifts. Make sure the shoulder moves with it. Turn the left side of the neck up towards the ceiling and lengthen the right side of the neck from the earlobe back towards the trapezius. Lengthen and look up towards the ceiling. And then release, and we'll come up. We'll remove the blocks, and we're going to need a little bit more room for this one away from the wall. So we're just going to move our yoga mat back a little, roughly the length of a yoga block. Then we stand upright. We move towards the wall with our arms extended directly out in front. Look to the screen if you're not sure. Palms are flat, and we've measured ourselves roughly a arm's length distance away from the wall. Keep your hands to the wall, bring your feet together. Check your alignment, make sure that your body is vertical, so not leaning back, not leaning forwards, but shoulders directly over the ankles with your elbows straight, your palms flat to the wall, and your wrists at shoulder height. So that's going to get us roughly in the correct position. What we now need to make sure that we retain is the position of the feet. So hands can come away from the wall. We'll leave the right foot exactly where it is, and we'll step the left foot back. so that we get our leg length distance just a little bit further for most people than a leg length, certainly no shorter than a leg length. We'll bend the right knee, the right hip, keep the right outer heel pressing down. We bring the right hand to the floor beside the outer heel. We're looking to make contact with the right waist onto the thigh. Now we need to potentially fine-tune the distance away from the wall. As we reach over with the left hand, we want the fingertips, all of the fingertips and the thumb tip to come to the wall with the left elbow straight, and we can emphasize that line in the pose from the left hand down to the left heel. So potentially you might need to walk in a little closer or a little further out to establish that correct distance. Make sure that you can get a firm contact with the left hand, and as you press into the wall, straighten fully the left elbow. Notice how pressing into the wall with the hand allows you to more clearly, more firmly anchor the left heel. So left hand pressed to the wall, left heel pressed to the floor. We've got the right knee firmly in contact with the arm. It presses back into the arm. The right hand presses down. And we've got all those points of contact. The left hand, the left heel, the right hand, the right knee. Pressing all of them simultaneously, we can turn the chest, the right chest up towards the ceiling. Still with the left elbow straight, then walk the hand further back towards the space behind you and use it to turn the right waist up towards the ceiling. And then see if the hand can walk that little bit further back without the elbow bending so that the arm comes over the ear. And then we're turning the head to look on the little finger side of the arm. So the chin needs to stay in towards the throat as you look up towards the ceiling. And then release. Just maintain that distance there with the left foot away from the wall as we step the left foot to where the right foot has just been, and then step the right foot back. Your full distance there between the feet so that you can now bend the left leg, the knee over the ankle, top of the thigh parallel to the floor. We bring the left hand down, closing the gap between the waist and the thigh. With the left hand pressed to the floor and lift and lengthen the left waist over the thigh. Then the right hand to the wall. Press the right hand into the wall, straighten the right elbow, and press more firmly the right heel down and into the floor. Make sure that you've closed the gap between the left arm and the left knee, and then activate the left knee. Press it into the arm. Notice how the torso can turn as you do that. The left chest turns up. The right hand press, the left hand press, the right heel press, and turn the left chest up towards the ceiling. To extract that further turning into the level of the waist, creep the right hand a little further along the wall towards the space behind you. Press the hand into the wall and turn the left waist up towards the ceiling. Ideally, we feel the brush of the skin, the left waist skin on the left thigh skin as we're turning and looking up. Still with the elbow straight, creep the fingers a little further back so that the arm can come directly over the ear as we look up towards the ceiling on the little finger side. And then release. And come up, we'll move our mat back to the wall. And our final, more classical version of the pose, we're going to work though with the back heel to the wall. Left heel to the wall, the right foot step out, bend the right leg, bring the hand down to the floor there beside the outer heel. Sink the right thigh bone down and then the right waist onto the thigh. Ideally, you're making a full contact as if the blanket was still there. Touch the waist skin to the thigh skin. Press the right hand down and lift the right waist further over the thigh. Press the knee back into the arm, press the hand to the floor, turn the chest up towards the ceiling. Left heel press down, left shoulder, bring back. Left heel press, right hand press, right waist turn up towards the ceiling. Extend the top arm up. And now lift the shoulder with the arm as you turn the hand. So palm faces towards the center of the room. Make the arm taller as the thumb side of the wrist moves back towards the wall. Make the arm taller as the back of the shoulder moves towards the wall. And then lengthen the arm as you bring it over, keeping the arm directly over the ear. Elbow straight and looking towards the ceiling on the little finger side of the arm. And then inhale and come up. And the last side. And bend. And bring the hand down. Close the gap between the knee and the arm. And then resist with the arm, but press the knee back into the arm. Left outer thigh, draw it back towards the wall behind. It moves that left hip in. Resist the right thigh back and press the right heel down. Right heel presses down, right shoulder moves back. Right shoulder moves back, left hand press to the floor and turn the chest up towards the ceiling. Left hand press, right heel press, target area, the left waist. Turn up towards the ceiling. Extend the top arm up. As you turn the top arm, lift it. The elbow, the shoulder, the wrist lift up. Thumb side of the wrist towards the wall. The little finger side of the elbow away from the wall. Keeping the arm over the ear, extend the arm over. Press the right heel down. From the right waist, reach into the fingertips. And then inhale and come all the way up. Step the feet together. We'll leave Parsvakonasana there. Just do a short Shavasana. Half fold blanket for the head. Extra blankets if you need to keep yourself warm. A few moments just to settle there. So we've come from some active variations of Parsvakonasana. The expectation the breath will be quite active at this point. We'll just give it a few moments to settle back to its more neutral depth and rhythm. Whilst there is some energy in the breath, good to just observe what's happening there in terms of allowing the breath to settle. Just observe with each inhalation the tendency of the diaphragm to press towards the abdomen as you breathe in. It results eventually in the abdominal area lifting up. Each in-breath, the diaphragm presses towards the abdomen lifts. That observation just helping to calm the breath, let it gravitate at its own rate towards softening. Still though with some energy in the breath from the standing poses, stay observing the inhalation. So we've got the diaphragm moving towards the abdomen, but potentially counterintuitive as the breath moves into the body, the sternum bone moves in the opposite direction. So just observe that with the next few cycles of inhalation. Diaphragm moves towards the abdomen. The sternum bone, the breastbone moves away from the abdomen. Check that those movements are smooth, even. It helps the breath to settle. And then again, just staying with the inhalation, noticing how the breath is slowly but surely gravitating back to a more soft and shavasana-like breath rhythm. As you breathe in now, observe the spreading of the side ribs. Look for it early in the breath cycle. So the sensation there corresponding to the early part of the in-breath, corresponding to the side rib spreading. Smooth, even inhalation, smooth, even exhalation. And the breath now starting to settle back to its more neutral depth and rhythm. Okay, and then we'll take a couple of slightly deeper in-breaths, getting ready to come out of Shavasana. And then bend your knees, bring your hands across your chest or abdomen. Eyes open. And roll to the side and come up as you're ready. Thank you for practicing with Yoga Selection.